There's a movie on my acting resume that, best as I can tell, about 11 people have ever seen. It made no money. Nobody's ever heard of it. The thing went absolutely nowhere. And I put it on there completely on purpose. By the time we're done, you're going to want one of these on yours too. My one real credit came from a project that flopped. Leading with that hurts me more than it helps. Really? And we believe that. Okay, this one I take a little personally because I am the guy in this story. Somewhere out there, you've got a credit, a real one. Your name, your face, a part you actually played on an actual set. And you're standing there thinking about hiding it. Not because an agent told you to, because you decided all on your own that the project going nowhere is the same thing as you going nowhere. So you're sitting on a piece of hard proof that you've done this professionally, and you're wondering if it's poison. Well, let me tell you why it isn't. A credit isn't a trophy that says you were in a hit. It's a receipt that says you did the work. And I think this is where the whole thing goes wrong. We treat a credit like a scoreboard. It's like its value goes up if the project was a smash and drops to zero if the project sank. As if the numbers of people who watch the thing is somehow a grade on your performance in it. It isn't. It was never that. A credit does exactly one job. It proves you did professional work. It says, this person was cast in a real role, on a real set, showed up, hit their marks, and delivered something a production could use. That's it. That's the whole message. And notice what's not in that message. Whether the movie made money, whether the algorithm pushed it, whether anybody watched it, because those things were never yours. The project's performance is the director's outcome, the distributor's outcome, the marketing department's outcome. Your outcome is one question and one question only. Did you do the job? You did. That's what the credit says. The rest of it was never on your side of the ledger. So let me actually tell you about that movie because it's the whole argument in one story. It's a real credit. My name is in it. A part I actually played in an independent faith-based film. It's a Christian film, made outside the studio system, independently created, independently edited, independently distributed, and today it lives on Tubi, which, if you don't know, Tubi is a perfectly nice free streaming service that is also, let's be honest, not exactly where the world is looking. As far as I can tell, about 11 people have seen this movie, and I might be related to some of them. Now, in all honesty, I have no idea what the real number is. It could be 11, it could be 1,100, it could be 11,000. It doesn't matter because either way, it's a rounding error. And either way, the point holds by every standard in this myth that is a bad credit. Nobody's heard of it. It didn't travel. There's no box office, no buzz, no cultural footprint, no nothing. It is, and I say this with love for everyone who worked on it, a genuine nothing burger. And I kept it. It's on my resume. It's on my IMDb on purpose. This is what took me a while to understand. Obscure is not the same as worthless. That set was real. The call sheet was real. The scene partner across from me was real. I was cast. I showed up. I did the work. And I did it like a professional. The fact that the finished thing didn't reach anybody doesn't reach back in time and undo the work. The reach was small. The work was real. Those are two completely different facts. And this myth spends all its time confusing them. Now, here's what's really going on when you want to hide it. You are trying to take the blame for decisions you never made. Think about everything that determines whether a project succeeds. The size of the budget, how it got edited, whether there was marketing spend or none at all, what day it got released and what it got released against, whether the streaming service pushed it or buried it, whether the distributor even really tried. How many of those did you decide? None. Zero. You weren't in the budget meeting. You didn't cut the trailer. You didn't pick the release date. You had exactly one job on that entire production, and it was to be good in your role. Everything else was somebody else's call, made in a room you weren't even in. So when you take the project's failure, and by the way, you're measuring failure on money alone, which is just one scorecard out of several, the work you did, the people you met, the footage you walked away with all count too. But when you take that one narrow failure and pin it on your own chest like it's your shame to carry, you're doing something kind of remarkable when you think about it. You're claiming responsibility for a job that was never yours. You're taking the fall for the marketing department, and nobody is asking you to do that. You've just volunteered to be good in the room. That's your job. That's the only part of this that was ever yours. Do that part, and the credit is clean, no matter what happened to the thing after you wrapped. And here's something that should take some pressure off, because even if you're still worried somebody's grading the project, let me show you how little anybody is actually looking. Start with the tool. When an agent looks you up, they're on IMDb Pro. And IMDb Pro will show them box office for a theatrical release. Opening weekend, domestic, worldwide, because theaters report ticket sales. That's public. But a streaming title, there's no viewership. None. They see a project page and a cast list. There's a little trending meter on IMDb, sure, but here's what that actually measures. It's counting how many people clicked on the IMDb page. That's it. It's page views. Somebody who Googled the movie out of curiosity moves that needle exactly as much as somebody who sat down and watched the whole thing. It's tracking attention on the listing, not eyeballs on the film. It is not a scorecard. So the number you're terrified of, it's just not in the tool they're using. Now, this is what I love. You'd think the streamers would rat you out. And these days, Netflix does put out a big report twice a year with hours watched on it. Sounds scary, right? Except it only lists titles that got watched more than 50,000 hours. So think that through just for a minute. If your project was a real flop, if it truly stank, it didn't clear 50,000 hours, which means it's not in the report. It's below the floor. It doesn't exist on the list at all, which gives you my favorite fact in this whole episode. The bigger your flop, the more invisible it is. The projects that show up with numbers attached are the ones that did well. The one you're trying to hide, congratulations. Nobody can find it, even if they go looking. And I'll be straight with you on this one, because there is a level where this flips. If you get famous enough, household name famous, face on the poster famous, then yeah, your flops start getting press. A big star's bomb makes the news. That's real, but look who that happens to. It happens to people whose name sells the ticket. So when the ticket doesn't sell, the name takes the hit. That is an A-list problem, and the thing is, by the time you've got that problem, you're like a gazillionaire who could retire tomorrow, and the only reason you're still taking roles is that you love the work. So even at the very top, where the flop finally does attach to you, it barely matters. You're doing it for the art at that point anyway. So unless you're watching this from a yacht, that is not your situation. And if you are watching this from a yacht, first, who am I kidding? And second, drop a comment and confirm it for the rest of us. For everybody else, they're not checking. And on the off chance they did, there's nothing there to find. Now let me be fair to this myth, because there's a splinter of truth buried in it. There is such a thing as a bad credit, and it can genuinely hurt you. It's just not even close to the one you're worried about. See, a bad credit isn't a project that flopped. A bad credit is a credit that lies. Listing yourself as a principal when you were background, passing off one of those pay-to-play showcases you bought your way into as a real professional job, puffing up a 2-line day player part into a starring role. That is a bad credit. And an experienced agent smells it in about 4 seconds. You know why it hurts? Not because the project was small, because it tells them something about you. It says you'll misrepresent yourself when you think it helps. And that's the one thing representation genuinely can't have. Because an agent's whole job is to put their name and their reputation next to yours in front of casting. The second they can't trust your resume, you're radioactive. And that's got nothing to do with viewership. So flip the whole worry around. The unseen film that you were honestly cast in and honestly list, totally clean. Helpful even. The inflated credit that looks impressive but isn't true, that's the poison. Which means the fix was never to hide your small credits. It's to be honest about every single one of them, big or small. So here's where this whole instinct actually lands, and it's the opposite of where you think. You believe hiding the credit is the safe, strategic play, protecting yourself, waiting for something better. But strategy and anxiety can wear the exact same outfit, and this is anxiety. It's the fear of how the project was received, dressed up in a suit so it looks like a business decision. And it backfires in a way most people never see coming because your credits can be cross-referenced. Now, IMDb isn't automatic. Somebody, you or the production, has to actually put the credit up there. And it goes through a review before it sticks, but once it's up and it's public. So if that film is sitting on your IMDb page and you hand over a resume with it conspicuously missing, that doesn't look like discretion. It looks like a hole, a gap. And a smart agent doesn't think, how discreet? They think, wait, what's this thing you left off and why? You've now manufactured the exact suspicious question you were trying to avoid out of a credit that was totally innocent to begin with. Now, one honest caveat, because if you're a working actor with a portfolio, you'll raise it. Once you've really built a body of work, 20, 30 credits, you obviously can't list them all on an acting resume. This one page, it rides on the back of your headshot, and nobody's reading a 10-page scroll. So you curate. You lead with your strongest and most recent. You let the old weak stuff fall off the bottom. And there's even a standard line for it. Additional credits available upon request. That's not hiding, that's editing. Nobody looks at a working actor's tight one-pager and wonders where the student film from 10 years ago went. But notice, that's a rich man's problem. And it's the exact opposite of where this myth lives. This myth lives with the actor who has 1 credit or 3 and is thinking about dropping the single thing that proves they've been on a professional set. When your resume is nearly empty, the gap where a real credit should be is the loudest thing on the page. Curating is for when you've got too much to fit. It is not for when you're hiding the little bit you've got. Meanwhile, the clock's running. Every month that credit sits hidden is a month it's not working for you, not proving your set experience, not answering the has this person actually done it question. It's just aging quietly in a drawer, doing you no good, while you wait for a permission slip that, well, if you caught the last episode, you know exactly how I feel about waiting on permission. That is never coming. Your work doesn't need to have been seen to count. It just needs to have been done. And yours was. So here's where this lands. A credit was never a scoreboard. It's a receipt. It proves you did professional work, and that proof doesn't get weaker because the project it came from didn't find an audience. My little faith film on Tubi that 11 people have seen proves I can do the job exactly as much as it would if 1 million people had seen it, because the work was the same. The audience was never my department. So stop grading your own credits on somebody else's outcome. Be honest about what you did. List it clean and let it do the one job it was always there to do. Prove you showed up and delivered. The only credit that can actually hurt you is one that isn't true. The one you're ashamed of because it was small, that one's not hurting you. Hiding it is. Stop hiding your work because it underperformed. Start leading with what you did, not how it was received. Hey, you want Start Where You Are for free? The link's in the description. New myths every week. See you in the next one.